like to drive around and talk about the latest happenings. This is the channel you need, so subscribe and follow Carmentary.
Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Carmentary, the show that just keeps on driving. Kind of working on a new slogan here. Haven't really settled on the perfect one yet, though. Okay, I'm back in the car. I'm driving out to Niseko. I've got another 30 minutes to go, so I thought I'd take the time to record another English episode of Carmentary. The last episode I did in Japanese, I talked about the weather, and I also talked about Niseko, the town, and the whole scene out there. That episode actually got quite a few views, so I'm guessing people are kind of interested in the subject matter. I thought I'd try to do a little repeat of that in English, provide some insight, talk about Niseko a little bit. I've been in Hokkaido now solid since 1991. I was here before that, as early as like 1984 or something like that. I've been going to the Niseko area to ski and then snowboard for, I guess, like 30 years now. I have seen the entire arc going from what it was back in those days to what it is now. And I've been an observer. I've never been a partaker in the development and the what I'm trying to say is I haven't made a friggin' dime out of all that money that's flowing into Niseko. God damn! Basically, back in the early 90s, Niseko was a dying ski town. It had had some kind of a ski boom at some point, and a lot of Japanese people moved there and built like pension style B&Bs, bed and breakfasts, log cabins, kind of, you know, classic quaint European style ski village. Had kind of grown up there to some extent, especially with the Japanese ski boom in the 80s, I guess. And it was kind of like going down when I got here, when I started going out there. It was very strict. You could not ride in the trees, which is what, you know, we wanted to do in the early days with snowboarding. We wanted to get in the powder, and it just wasn't happening out there. The patrol was very strict. Everything was roped off. It was an entirely different scene from what it is now. So on super snowy days, we would sneak into the forests and ride, and the patrol would not catch us. But on the sunny days, it wasn't happening. You were going to get caught, you know. So that was kind of the scene out there. There were a few Australian and I don't know, maybe other, I don't know if it was Canadian or whatnot. I don't know the entire history in detail, but you know, there were a few foreigners out there setting up businesses. You know, Niseko Adventure Center, Knack and Ross was, you know, I remember he had a small, it was a prefab little shack that was their office the first time I went out there. And right where Niseko Adventure Center stands today was just a little shack, and they were doing like rafting tours. And I remember going out there on a little promotion tour of my own. I had a store in Sapporo, and we were selling like hemp clothing and goods, and we were doing a little promo tour for that. So that's kind of what it was at the time, and now it has come this full arc to be this massive. It's like a gold rush town, or is what I imagine to be a gold rush town. You know, back in the 1800s in California, where, you know, there's gold in them hills. We gotta go get it. Everybody's just like, whoosh, you know. In the last 10, 15 years, it has gone ballistic. There was a huge wave before Fukushima and the earthquake and meltdown there that kind of put a little dent in the armor and slowed things down a bit. But now Japan has gone full on bringing tourism into the country, seeing that as the future economic savior. And now the arc has kind of like ramped up again. And every time I drive out, I just go, wow. You know, I think everybody does. You just what the fuck? Like, where did all this come from? The amount of construction has gone ballistic again. Like 2 days ago, I went out to Hanazono, which has always been the nothingness resort of Niseko. There's no village, there's no hotels, there was nothing. And a few years ago, they rebuilt the center house. Beautiful building, 2 buildings, expensive restaurant, and even expensive ramen for lunch. It's like $14 for a ramen. Beautiful though. And now they're building the Park Hyatt, I guess it is. And I went out there and it was just like, holy crap. Massive steel structures. I don't know how many. It was snowing very hard and it was dark. I think there was like at least 3, maybe more. I don't know the total number of beds they're making out there, but it's huge. It's massive. It's gonna be, wow. Anyway, so what I'm trying to get at is that now we've gone from, you know, a nothingness little ski town to this sort of massive economic upscaling. A lot of people buying property cheap in the early days, flipping it, making a lot of money. Now there seems to be a lot of this Asian tourism, obviously, and then the Asian property developers are full on, and they are full on scooping up everything, and it's getting further and further out from the center village. So if Hirafu is the main center area, the edges are Hanazono on one side and Moiwa way over on the other, where I'm headed right now. And just recently I talked to a friend who lives in the Moiwa area, and he said until like last year there was still like lots of properties for sale and the prices were not, you know, really high yet. And just within the last year, like everything has disappeared around his house. Like all the properties have been bought up and the prices went kind of like the prices went up and then they all sold. So it's kind of interesting. And then he said it's all like Asian, Chinese investors, property developers, whatnot, who come in and have just sort of bought it all up on speculation, I guess. Figuring, hey, you know, it's bound to go up more. Why not get it now? Which, you know, I agree with. I think it is. And a lot of people, I've been talking to Japanese locals who've been there a long time. They're so flabbergasted and they're so shocked by all this. And a lot of people are kind of in a low economic state, you know. A lot of people I know out here who've been here a long time, kind of ski bum kind of mentality. They love it for what it is, the nature and the skiing and the snowboarding and the snow, and they've never been here to try and make money out of it. And these people are just kind of like, whoa, where is this going, and when is this bubble gonna pop? And I think that's kind of the big question on everybody's mind. Like, how big and how crazy can this get before something happens and it kind of collapses? I don't know if anybody has the answer, and if they did, they're probably not going to share it. But I travel quite a bit to other countries and have seen, you know, Whistler and, you know, Switzerland resorts, locks, and different places. I don't think that this is just gonna, okay, I'll tell you what, the thing that will make this crash before anything else is probably going to be the global warming, the climate change. This is a topic that probably no one really wants to talk about when you're developing property at a ski resort. You know, it's kind of like, hey, whoa, global warming, don't talk about that one, buddy. That's the taboo subject. But it's a fact that every scientist, 99 out of 100 scientists, agree on global warming and climate change. And it's going to be a crusher for ski resorts around the world. It already is. It's already happening in a lot of places. Japan has been doing much better than others, although this year was a very late start, as we're seeing. And from what I've heard from quite a few specialists here in Hokkaido, is that for a while, Hokkaido may actually get more snow because the temperature is going to raise a little bit and we'll get a wetter, heavier snow. So it's going to become kind of what Nagano and Hakuba area is right now, where you have like a huge volume of snow, but a shorter season. It's going to come later, end earlier, but be quite intense when it comes. Big amounts of snow. Hokkaido has traditionally been colder, and right now I'll tell you it's cold. It's -7 degrees. We've got a very cold storm coming in now, but they're definitely becoming, I feel, more unpredictable and shorter. When I was here like 30 years ago, you know, we always joked about how it never was sunny in Niseko. We would come out for like a week and be like, oh, there was the sun, like 5 minutes, freak out, take a photo. And, you know, people still claim that on Instagram. You know, everybody, oh, it's always snowing in Niseko. Fucking bullshit, man. It gets sunny a lot in Niseko now. I was here 30 years ago when it was definitely not sunny. It was a different thing. So I think if you have a series of really bad winters, that is going to be a crusher for your main season. All right, I'm just saying that. Now, the other thing, a word to the ultra wealthy. You probably don't watch my channel because I don't have luxury in the title of any of my videos, but maybe you're that one like random rich person who like enjoys watching like what the kind of lower end does. So here's the deal. I think you're getting ripped off. I've been to a lot of these kind of these ultra high-end buildings. There's some really big, you know, like there's one that just opened recently I went to and did a video shoot in. There's one I went and had a meeting in right in Hirafu. You know, ultra high-end, you know, talking about like $1,000 a night for a room. Ski in, ski out, right on the slopes. Super high ceilings. This is the first thing you gotta, if you see the super high ceilings and a lot of glass, floor to ceiling glass, you know you're in the ultra high end kind of, you know, building. A lot of them they're very tech looking, very modern, very beautiful, very sort of international in design, and at the same time very cold, very in a cold as in like physically, like the floor is cold, kind of cold, and tsumetai as in the feeling of being, you know, that modern kind of feeling, right? A lot of steel and concrete and whatnot. Hey, that's great, and maybe that's what sells to the ultra rich, but man, long term, that stuff sucks, man. I don't know. It's just a personal, maybe it's a personal preference, but I think the warmth, both physically, like you have to build a building, especially up in these cold climates, that is like, it's really warm. It's really hospitable. That's the kind of place that you're going to want to come back to over and over again. Spend a lot of time in there relaxing. And a lot of these places that are being thrown up, and I watched the construction, and I had a house built myself 2 years ago, and I learned a lot about what goes on into building buildings. And it's real easy for construction companies to rip people off. You know, even if they're not doing it like super, like, oh, we built the wall with no insulation, right? Like, you don't even know. There could be walls with no insulation and you would not even know because it's all sealed up. Now, I'm not saying they're doing that. They're not going that far, but you can use cheaper materials, and you can cut a lot of corners and still be within all the building codes and the official limitations, but you're getting an inferior product. And over time, you're gonna find you have a cold house with a bad design. And it's a combination of the architect side, you know, not really knowing what's needed and what should be built in a cold climate like this, and the construction company's going, yeah, whatever, you're throwing millions of dollars at us, we can cut off a little more and make even more. So that's something to really consider. There's some massive houses I saw being built this summer and they're all open. And I drove by a couple days ago, and they're like, that's another thing. This will be my closing point in the construction, on the construction side. You know, I saw them going up. I saw the way they were being built. Huge buildings. Typical post and beam kind of construction. I don't know what you call that, kind of kakuzai. It's like not 2x4s, but they're like square pillars. Those are gonna, you know, see damage over time for sure with the heavy snow loads. I don't care what the construction guys tell you, man. The other thing is the heating costs. Maybe we should all try and be a little eco-conscious in this climate change world. And I see these massive buildings going up, and it's sort of a status symbol for the ultra wealthy to be like, I got the best view of Mount Yote. I'm close to the mountain. I got ski in, ski out. My house is bigger than yours. Look, my living room ceiling is way bigger than yours. And this whole kind of thing is definitely going on. And I'm driving by that place going, man, they must spend a shitload of money heating that place. Like, that's going to be crazy. It's massive. And it's built with, I don't want to say the name of the place, but people, you're going to pay in the end for that, you know. So at some point you're going to be like, man, this is costing way too much money. I don't care how rich you are. At some point you're going to be like, I don't know if I really want to spend $2,000 a month just to heat up my resort property I go to once a week, for 1 week every year, you know. But then again, you know, it's sort of a capitalist game going on, and everybody's got to sort of jockey for the best position and kind of show off what they got. So I understand that that's going on. But a word to the wise. I would study up on what really makes long-term value in a property and a building. No matter where, not just Niseko. That goes for everywhere. But especially when you're at the bottom of a ski resort that gets tons of snow and is super cold. And we've seen what happens to a lot of these buildings. You know, when I was here 30 years ago, there were already like decaying buildings. And the ones that were constructed kind of shoddily are the ones that decayed a lot faster. That's definitely a fact. So I'm gonna have to deal with that, folks. All right, I don't know if I really kind of made any sense or you got any value out of that, but just to review, I don't think this bubble is going to be bursting anytime soon, just from what I've seen globally. And the interest and sort of fandom for skiing and snowboarding around the world right now. The Asian market is very strong. There's a lot of wealthy people. They're pouring a lot of money into this. But it's not just the wealthy people. There's like you know, skiing and snowboarding and snow is such an amazing thing that, you know, once you kind of get locked into it, it's really hard to stop. You know, I think people who learn to enjoy skiing and snowboarding, like, you're going to come back to that for the rest of your life. So I think there's a huge group of new people coming into it from a lot of these Asian countries, and they're not going to go away. I don't think it's going to be like 2 years from now and they're going to go, oh, we're tired of skiing, let's go snorkeling. I don't think that's going to happen. And it's such an amazing good place. Like Hokkaido, the island itself, is so incredible that, you know, once you fall in love with that, it's hard to get that out of your system. You know, you're gonna get addicted and you're gonna come back, or you're gonna stay, kind of like I did. So I don't think that bubble's gonna pop anytime soon. Definitely over time, as the snowfall becomes more unpredictable, this is gonna be an issue to work on. But Hokkaido is not a one-season island. It's actually beautiful all the time here, and yeah, I think people are gonna figure that out, and that's gonna grow in Niseko as well. But I would like to see some more common sense and some more thought being put into all the architecture and the craziness that is being built consistently. I don't know if it needs like more rules and building codes and like ethics, or I don't know what it is, man. That's not really my specialty, but you know, I see there's a danger in the rampant sort of competition to build the gaudiest kind of crazy looking structure you can. I don't know if that's really the way Niseko should develop. Comments and thoughts would be appreciated. I'm having a lot of fun with this YouTube thing again, and Carmentary is a nice outlet for me to talk about things and sort of work things out in my own mind as I talk about it. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. Hopefully one of these days I'll be able to get some guests in the car for a little chat. I'm thinking about that. Or maybe I can take a ride in someone's car and talk to them. Maybe I could talk to you. Send me a comment if you want me to take a ride in your car and chat with you. That would be fun. All right, have a good day and have a safe drive. It's a crazy world out there.
This is the channel you
folks.
need, so subscribe and follow Carmentary.